In this next group of videos, we're going to explore how to use forms. Forms have a front component where we build a form with HTML, but they also have a very active PHP component where we deal with the data and we deal with data validation. So this should be a lot of fun because forms really power interaction on a website. They enable users of a website to interact in a lot of different ways. Users can authenticate themselves with login forms. They can send contact information via a contact form. They can add comments to data and a whole lot more. So this is where we begin exploring how forms work technically in a website. Now, when you're using Drupal, you're using forms at a different level. You're actually using a form builder rather than actually creating the form or knowing what's happening in the back end with the form itself. In order to really understand the PHP behind it, we have to build forms from scratch. Let's go ahead and take a look at the life cycle of a typical form. To begin with, a form is generated on a website and displayed to the user. We create that form, and it is HTML based, but PHP may have a hand in how that form was built initially. Once the user sees the form, they can fill out the data, and then they click the Submit button, and that data gets sent to our website, or the server that houses our website. From there, we decide what to do with that data, and this is usually where PHP really gets involved. We may decide to do some validation on that data to make sure that the user didn't skip some information and to make sure that the data conforms to what we're expecting. And if the data doesn't pass that, we might display some errors to let the user know, hey, you need to fill in your first name or your credit card number. If they pass, then we're going to go ahead and show them that form again with their data pre-filled. And when they submit that one more time, we're going to process that data in some way. And finally, after we process that, we'll display a confirmation to the user letting them know that their form data was accepted. So this sixth step here, where we process and store the data, can use a variety of different methods. So one of the ways that we can store data that we grab from a form is by putting it into sessions. So in this chunk of videos, we're going to explore sessions quite a bit. Every user on a website that runs on PHP can have their own session even if they haven't logged in, and we can store data about that user or data that that user may want to use in that session for a temporary period of time. We can also store that data in flat files, but most of the time we're going to be storing that information in a database of some kind. In these videos, we're going to explore using a MySQL database in order to store this data eventually. In this section, however, we're going to focus on using sessions in order to store that data. We're going to go through a variety of different examples through these videos. Some of them are going to be a lot of fun. So first of all, we're going to demonstrate how to send an email. So if somebody fills out a contact form and that data is supposed to come to the owner or administrator of the site, we'll explore how to do that using just PHP and HTML. Next, we're going to add a search form to allow people to filter out particular individuals in a people database that we've created using just arrays in PHP. In our next example, we're going to take another project that we've been working on where we're generating random text for tools like a Twister game spinner or just for fun, goofy Mad Lib style games. We'll go from there to a very practical implementation of a form, which is a login form, and we'll also explore some tools around validating data that a user inputs into the form. And finally, we're going to pull a lot of what we've learned so far about forms, as well as how to use some more complicated PHP code as we build a text adventure game. This is my personal favorite. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in.